All right, we're going to go on a little bit of a strange abandoned railways hike today. So this line, it's basically now a road, went across Highway 17 back there. I forget the name of the road, but this was the original Canada Central Railway line, which amalgamated with Canadian Pacific in 1881. So this line would have been built before 1881. Now, something happened here, as I showed in the last video, where we went up as far as mile 29 on the North Bay sub, which is the subdivision that goes from Chalk River to North Bay from on the old Canadian Pacific Railway line that was ripped up 9 years ago or so. So this rail line, this portion, was abandoned in about 1949, and they had a bypass starting at Mackey, my old stomping grounds, and cutting across to Stonecliff. This was the rail line that they bypassed, and the reason they did that was because they built the Rapides des Joachim hydroelectric dam, which was a massive dam, and the filling of McConnell Lake, the lake in behind the dam, actually put several miles of the rail bed underwater once the dam closed its gates and flooded McConnell Lake. And so in anticipation of that, they built a bypass track between the the east end of Mackey siding, what was Mackey siding, and Stonecliff. So hopefully, now a lot of this rail bed is underwater right now, and I'm actually hoping to get to either snorkel or scuba dive to those sections, because you can actually see them in the springtime when they open the floodgates on the dam and the water level goes way down. The rail bed becomes exposed, and Mackey Station, the original Mackey Station, is now underwater. It was down at what we call Mackey Beach, and so I'm going to go over there. I only learned this recently, so I don't honestly know if I'll be able to even find it or not, but I'm going to go take a swim. I'll throw my mask on and take a look and see what I can see. But I do know that just on the other side of Highway 17 here, it comes to a dead end at the river, and that's because the rail bed went under what is now underwater. And in the springtime, when the water is low, that rail bed is exposed. The water levels go down enough that the rail bed's exposed. So I know for a fact you'll be able to find it there. And there will be bridges or large culverts underwater now, because you have Mackey Creek and Finley Creek, which were two pretty big creeks that the old rail bed would have had to cross, and they crossed it where it is now underwater. So I'm hoping to get out scuba diving or snorkeling to some of that rail bed later on. So that'll be kind of fun. In the meantime, I'm going to take a hike up here, because just up ahead here was the original Ashport railway station. So I'm just hiking up there. You can see that's the hydroelectric lines from the Ralston Dam, the Rapides des Joachim Dam, that goes down to Toronto. So we're only about 200 meters shy of there is where the original station was. So I'm going to see if I can find that, because I've never actually been back here before. I've been down off page here. I'm going to take you to where it branched off from the diversion track originally. So let's go take a look, see what we can see. Another thing you can't see on this map, but you can see in Google Earth if you get the... oh yeah, it is showing up. You'll notice there's actually two tracks there. So there's actually a siding there. Originally was a siding, a pretty long one too. So I'm going to keep an eye open for that. Getting attacked by bugs. Keep an eye open for that. Currently, we're still only one track wide on the rail bed, I would say. So All right, I don't know how well that shows up, but I'm pretty sure you can see the bright spot way down there, the end of a straight stretch. I'm pretty sure that's where the hydro line right-of-way is, the power grid, power lines. And right here, the rail bed gets noticeably wider. So this is obviously where the siding started. And so so we're close. We're probably within 200 or 300 meters of where the station was. Now, hopefully the camera can pick this up. There's no rail tie. In pretty good shape, actually. All right, so I'm not seeing any, telltale things I would look for, holes where the basement was, or foundation, or anything like that. Concrete foundation, stone foundation, anything like that. I'm not seeing any of that anywhere. So if I was going to venture a guess, I would say this is where the station was. Just it's slightly flat, and it's approximately where it would be. I'm going to take a quick look around. It's also important to remember, I don't know what was here. I don't even know if there was a building here. If there was a platform, a road, or anything. I know nothing. And my timetable, which I think was from 1938, shows Ashport Station, but a station on the railroad can mean anything. Usually it's a station, but back in those days, but not always. It's just a waypoint marker, basically. So it's possible that the station was demolished even by that point, in which case we're talking like 80 years ago. So any remnants of a station that was here are potentially long gone. All right, I don't know how well this will show up on camera. You've got to remember it's been 70 years. But the rail bed here, you can see it, and it clearly narrows down here. So this would have been where Ashport siding ended, on the east end. Okay, we'll be getting close to where the bypass starts. This is the Trans-Canada Pipeline. This would have been built 1984, I think. I was living in Mackey at the time. And then they came through again about 15 years later or something, and laid down a second pipe. So there's two high pressure natural gas lines underground here. And let's carry on the old rail bed. All right, so here we are on the diverted rail bed. This was in use up until 11 years ago or so. I'm right at the east end of what was Mackey siding. You can see the rail bed narrowing there, and you can actually see some of the grounding and electrical gear here from the switch and the signals. It's still here. There would have been a dwarf signal there, and oh yeah, there's even an insulator from the poles there. There's a couple other things I'm going to show you here. So right in here, this whole stretch, which of course happens at switches all the time, there was a derailment here, probably, I would guess 1982. We were living in the area at the time, but back in here, a boxcar full of meat was one of the things that derailed. And so back here you can see where they, you can't really see it here, more over here, you can see where they're excavating, basically digging into the ground and burying everything. And the rain's starting up. Oh, but that feels good though. It's hot out today. So this is where the Mackey East home board would have been. In fact, you can even see one of the rail insulators still here from the joint in the rail. And I don't know if the diverted rail bed had signals or not, because I believe it was around 1948, 1949 was when they put in the ABS signals on this rail line. So that was right around the time they were building this diversion line. And so it's grown in so much here in the past decades that since I've been back here. That is actually where that sand is actually the old rail bed. You can barely even make it out now. But this is where it branched off, right over here. And this was, oh yeah, okay, so all this whole area was excavated, dug out, so there's like boxcar loads of meat and who knows what else down there buried under the dirt. I just remember hearing about the meats because they were battling bears while trying to bury it all. But it was a pretty big derailment here. Now, one thing I want to point out, you'll notice the original rail bed is quite a bit lower, probably 15-20 feet in elevation. So all this was built up about 15 or 20 feet higher, and you'll see right around the corner here at this classic old culvert I'll show you. You can see how much they've added onto it. More of the area where they were burying goods off of derailed cars, and probably cars themselves, because that's what they did back then. So I'm just here at the derailment site. Chunks of rail car. I'm not sure what that must have been. The air tank. It must have been. So it was an orange rail car. You can see other yes, you can see more aluminum parts from what was probably a coal car, I'd be guessing. Here's some more from that orange rail car, part of the ladder. That was probably a ballast car. I know they painted a lot of those orange, and that looks like it could be the ladder from it. Let's see what else we find here. Not sure what that is. Part of the sill from a hopper car, maybe? I don't know. So now, this wasn't flooded years ago. Obviously, the beavers have dammed it up. I used to come out here deer hunting when I was a teenager. I'd come out here and sit on the banks of the rail bed, and this wasn't flooded. It was meandering river plains. So you can see a long way off. And right down here, where the water comes through, and I believe this is Finley Creek. I'm embarrassed to say I can't remember if this is Finley or Harvey. I'm pretty sure this is Finley Creek. Or Harvey, I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure this is Harvey Creek. I think Finley Creek comes out over and joins on to Mackey Creek. So let's go down and take a look at the culvert. All right, so it's pretty hard to make out here. There is a bit of an embankment there coming up here. And this was added on when they built the diversion, because if you take a look inside, you can see the original beautiful cut limestone culvert that was hand built, as many of them were on this rail line. But they added, because they had to bring the elevation up in order to get through rock cut just over there for the diversion, they had to add these concrete extensions, because now they had to build up the rail bed another 15-20 feet higher in elevation to keep the grades low and to meet the elevation they needed to just over there where Mackey siding started. So they had to cross Harvey Creek at some point. So rather than go through the expense of building another culvert, make use of the one that was over here, that was already here, and then just start the diversion right after it. So that's what they did. Wild raspberries. So my high school buddy Eddie, he and I, man, we walked a lot of miles of this rail bed. He lived way over there a couple miles, and so he'd walk down the rail beds way over there to the east, come over to my place, and we'd walk up here together. This is about 1.5 miles from the road, and then another, close to a mile to my house from there. I remember us sitting down there at the culvert, throwing the rocks from the rail bed into the water. I brought my ghetto blaster out. We were listening to Prince's Purple Rain album. It had just come out. Sadly, Eddie passed away last year from lung cancer. This hike's for you, Ed. I literally cannot think of the last time I was out here. I'm going to take a wild stab at 1990. It was after I came back from college, but before I went to Texas. So that was probably the last time I came out here. So probably 1990, because I went to Texas in 91. So 30 years ago since I've been back here. I'm starting to feel old. Okay, so they've turned the old rail bed into the road here, and it just comes to a dead end here, heading into the river. So I'm going to go through those bushes. I doubt we can see anything right now with the water being as high as it is, but go take a look anyway. Okay, unfortunately it just ends in someone's backyard now, so I don't want to be invading people's privacy, so I'll end it here.